So I had a team that worked for me at the largest. I had a team of 5, and it just kind of things change as you work on different things. But I was one of the original designers of OneDrive, which is Microsoft's cloud storage application, and
Which is phenomenal,
it's
by the
one
way.
of their biggest, it's one of their biggest products.
Yeah.
I feel very fortunate that I kind of was able to work on that, but I also worked on a lot of really other cool products that help the world. I've worked on Microsoft Project. They use that software at Boeing to build airplanes.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked on they call it Microsoft Planner, which was it's called Kanban. So think of that as a very lightweight way in which you can move sticky notes across a process.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked on a thing. It didn't even make it. It was really interesting. I learned that sometimes I work on stuff and it doesn't even make it to the world. But I worked on a to-do app at Microsoft, one of the first mobile apps, which was really cool. Learning about gestures on the mobile phone, because again, the phone was so new just a few years ago that people were still learning about what you could do by swiping your finger across a surface digitally, and coming up with that design and that interaction.
Okay.
And so we're coming up with really fun design interactions around swiping things to say it's deleted or complete and stuff like that. And so
that would be like how would you put it, like the ergonomics, the neural ergonomics of how something flows?
just really just the usability.
Usability.
We were coming up with the usability. And I was very fortunate. I was at Microsoft for 14 years. So, like I told you, I worked on Office 365. That was just the web at the time. But then that evolved to the new version of Windows, which lets you touch the screen. That was new a few years ago. It's hard to believe, but you used to not have any computer where you could touch the screen. And so I got to help with others figure out what's the best way in which you can use a computer that you can use a mouse, a keyboard, and touch at the same time. And sometimes you might not want to use just the mouse and keyboard. You might want to just use it. And so how does the experience evolve? Understanding whether or not you plug things in, or even having enough space around certain elements so that you could go use your finger if you wanted to, and it would work.
Do you have like, I don't know what the right word is, but like use like guinea pigs for that? Because I feel like, so for me, we have one in our office, right? It's just a mouse, keyboard, but it's also touchscreen, right? Yeah. And I like almost rarely ever use the touchscreen. Almost never. Mm-hmm. But that's because I guess I'm an old guy with computer and technology, right? My kid, she'll touch that screen all the time and like use it. And so I'm thinking, what is it different about you and your own organic intuitions that drive you to use this versus what we're used to? Is it just training? Is it just what we grew up knowing?
Yeah.
If we had to start all over again, would I probably just keep tapping the screen?
No, it's a good question. I think early on when everyone was figuring it out, like when this technology came out, like you have to realize that it wasn't just Microsoft. It was everyone building software was trying to figure out, how are people going to use it now that they have this technology? How are they going to use it? And there were many people that believed strongly that, you got touch, you're just going to use touch. But they quickly found there were other independent research firms. I remember one off the top of my head though from Intel that basically shared that it will just be more efficient sometimes to use your finger in some experiences versus others, and sometimes it will be more efficient to use the keyboard and mouse in other things. And so it's it depends so much on application, you as a person, and that's what was special about like learning how to do this, because I had to design software where it had to work for you and it had to work for your daughter with touch. And there was a time there where people didn't believe that, and what I mean by that is there were applications that just released that just you had to use your finger, and you'd be bummed out because you have a keyboard and you like using the keyboard. And so we evolved in our thinking, and we learned that it's okay. They can all work together.
Yeah.
And sometimes you might want to use more of this, but sometimes you might, have a busted arm over here and you might want to just tap
Sure.
you had a slight injury or something,
Yeah.
or you're older. There definitely is information out there with age where touch isn't as easy for you, and it's easier to have hardware, and then take that even further. There is special hardware for other
Sure.
people to make it even more accessible, and that was another evolution of what I had to learn in the job, was to create software that was accessible for everyone in the world.
That's incredible.
And that wasn't something that was, when I first started, it wasn't something that everyone made sure was possible.
Yeah.
And the CEO at the time, Satya Nadella, did a mandate, and it's because it's the right thing, that we needed to design software that was accessible for low vision, colorblind,
Yep.
everything, because technology should be accessible to everybody. That's the right thing, And so it's so cool because I got to learn about voiceover. I didn't know these weren't things that they taught in school.
Totally.
These were things that were all developing, kind of even while we're figuring out how to make it accessible for all these people.
And that's
in
that's
the
a
world.
crazy point to think about, because we're now 40, right? Like at the beginning of the developing of all this stuff, you were in your 20s, right? We don't think about it. What I am thinking about currently is my wife's grandfather, who's 90, and he's lost mobility in, he used to type emails, and now he doesn't really do that so much, but he can actually tap his phone to, like, maybe the fingers don't work for keyboard stuff, but he can tap it and
Right.
make a phone call, or maybe tap it and do a voice thing, or he can drag his finger across the screen and make something happen. And so you don't think about that, because I'm not 90. I haven't lost the dexterity in any of my limbs yet, or anytime soon, hopefully. But we don't think about that, and that's fascinating that you have to actually run those thought processes to think about all the variables when you're not in that position.
Right.
That's a lot of imagination.
It is, yeah. And I think, something I was as you were talking about that, and you were talking about your daughter, what you're seeing is that we grew up with technology when it was at a certain point, and so we learned some of those mental models. And then your daughter now is growing up in a new part of technology, and she's learning about mental models earlier because they weren't around when we were first doing it. And so that connects to a lot of kind of where I'm headed with some of the new technology that I've been up to. So recently actually, it's already been over 3 years, but I started exploring more around virtual worlds.
Mm-hmm.
And the metaverse. And like I said, I did a lot of website design, but I've personally gotten a little bit tired of just kind of doing normal websites. I've kind of now been looking at what excites me more than just creating a website for a person. And I've come to learn that I really enjoy creating, I call it the metaverse. An easier way to think about it is, another way is like a 3D website.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been creating a lot of those and working with different artists to do things like galleries in the virtual world, or even performing music in the virtual world. So that's really what I've found really exciting as of late. And what's really interesting about that, it also connects to accessibility, is that it does make some of these shows that I do more accessible for people to come and check out new art, or go to a show, and what I've been trying to figure out lately is to show people how it's not this or that. I think that kind of also like help people see that it's not like, if there's a virtual show happening, it doesn't mean that it only has to happen virtually. And I'm trying to create more experiences where I bring the two together, the real life and the virtual world, so that they can see each other. And that's a newer concept that not very many people are doing. I'm kind of on the forefront of that. I think we've had a lot of people doing shows in the virtual world where it's just everyone has to be in the virtual world. But I'm now doing and working to do shows, like I said, where I create a portal between the two. And it's been really cool.